Hello everybody, welcome to Tour Talk. This is our third episode of the season. This week we cover February 15th through the 21st. Only one tour event this week, but it was a good one. It was at Lake Guntersville. It was a Major League Fishing Toyota Series. It was the first Central Division tournament of the season. And congratulations to the winner, Jimmy Washam. Washam weighed in 58 pounds, 5 ounces for 15 fish over 3 days, and had a really strong first day with 23:07. Day 2, 15:15, and came on strong day 3 with an 18:15, almost 19 pounds on day 3 to seal the win. Washam's 15 fish were anchored by a 7-pound, 5-ounce monster that he caught on day 1. Ironically, he won the tournament by 6 pounds. So that big fish is the fish that got him over the top. Finishing second place in that event, Sloan Pennington with 52 pounds, 11 ounces. Sloan also had 3 very solid days. Just didn't have a 7-pounder in his 15 fish that he brought to the scales. But he weighed in 1904. 14:14, and 18:09. Those are solid days to finish second. Third place went to Jeff McLean. Jeff McLean weighed in 48:11 with 15 fish over the course of 3 days. Fourth place goes to Ethan Green Tracy with 46:03, 15 fish. And fifth place goes to Brennan McCord, who weighed in 46:01 over the course of 3 days of fishing. Good, solid weights for the top 5 in that event. Oddly enough, we didn't see a lot of 20-pound bags. Washam had his 23:07 on day 1. There was another 20-pound bag brought to the scales, 20 pounds, 12 ounces by Mickey Beck on day 2 of the event. Beck went on to finish in 8th place. But there were a lot of upper teen limits, a lot of 17s and 18-pound limits. Good, strong pre-spawn tournament there at Lake Guntersville. Are you looking for a global action camera that won't break your bank? Check out Tacticam Fisheye. Get this, 170 degree standard wide angle lens, plug-in option for all day power, remote sync with your smartphone, waterproof to 30 feet deep, patented interchangeable lens system, all at a price that won't break your bank. Tacticam Fisheye, because that fish of a lifetime happens once in a lifetime. Looking now at the Bass Tour Anglers Angler of the Year race, we got a good one. Shaping up here. Congratulations to Dakota Ebare, who leads now after the end of the third week of our season. He has 233 points. Now, the thing about Dakota that's very interesting is Dakota has fished 4 events so far. He has fished in Texas. He has fished in Florida. He's fished 2 events in Florida, and now he's fished in Alabama. And this Angler of the Year award and competition was created for anglers like Dakota, guys that go out there and fish every single week. And he has done it, and he's scoring points in each event, and he's built up a pretty good lead. So Dakota Ebare in first place with 233 points. Dickie Newberry, last week's leader, didn't fish this past week. He has 167 points. In second place, Jacob Wall, 159 points. Joe Uribe Jr., he's a Western angler with 150 points. Jimmy Washam, the winner of the Guntersville event, is in 5th place with 148 points. Brian Schmidt, 145 points, is in 6th. Randy Howell is in 7th place with 144 points. Ryan Salzman is in 8th with 143. Now, Ryan has caught 27 fish in the events that he has fished. His point total is identical to Bryant Smith. Bryant Smith is in 9th place. But in our Bass True Anglers podcast Angler of the Year standings, we use number of fish caught as a tiebreaker. So in this case, Salzman and Smith both have 143 points. Salzman has caught and weighed in 27 fish. Smith has weighed in 21 fish. And that's the tiebreaker we use in those situations. Again, the anglers that fish more events weigh in more fish and break those ties. And rounding out the top 10 is Jared Mcmillan with 140 points. If you would like to see the entire standings, and we have got, I believe, over 600 anglers now that we have been charting over the course of the first three weeks of this season. There's been a lot of events that have taken place already, but not only do we have the full standings of all these anglers calculated, we also have the results of each of the tournaments that we've been following located. Unofficial results. The weights may not be exactly the same, but the standings are the key. The reason that the weights are not necessarily the same is because we don't know what tiebreakers the various organizations use. So, but the standings are accurate and the points are accurate. If you'd like to see all that, you can also go and check our website. Website is basstrueanglers.com, and as I said, it's got not only does it have all the Bass True Anglers podcast Angler of the Year information that you need, but it's also got all of our podcasts and other media content that we have created. All right, we're going to talk. We're very lucky today. We're going to talk to Dakota Ebare. We'll be going to him in just a moment, hear what he has to say, what he thinks about being the Bass True Anglers, about leading the Bass True Anglers Angler of the Year contests. Our guest today is leading the Bass True Anglers Angler of the Year race with an impressive 66-point lead over Dickie Newberry. So far this season, he has fished the Toyota Series events at Sam Rayburn, where he finished 39th, Lake Toho, where he finished 26th, the Big Five Pro Circuit stop at Okeechobee, where he finished 94th, and the Toyota Series event at Guntersville, where he finished 20th. Dakota Ebare, welcome to Tour Talk.
Hey, man, glad to be here. I'm excited.
First of all, congratulations on leading the Bass True Anglers podcast Angler of the Year race. It's going to be a big deal by the time this thing is over. Mark my words. You're exactly why we started this contest. You have fished. Well, I'm trying to keep track of where you've been. You fished 4 major events in the 3 biggest bass fishing states that we've got. What has that been like?
Man, I started fishing full time about 5 years ago, and then whenever I qualified for the pro circuit, I really I got a little sponsorship help, and I really stepped up another notch, and I started fishing literally as many events as I really physically could. So it's something that's kind of just part of my routine at this point. Now, this will be my 3rd year fishing, multiple divisions of the Toyota Series as well as the pro circuit. So, man, it's a lot of fun. It keeps you on your toes whenever you leave from one lake and go to the other. It's just like, I didn't have a very good tournament at Okeechobee. I was pretty disappointed about that, but I drove all night, and the next morning I show up and it's 50 degrees colder, and I'm at Lake Guntersville. There's something to be said about that. I mean, whenever you leave a place like that and you go to a totally different area, it just keeps you on your toes. It keeps things fresh, and I really enjoy it. I enjoy the challenge of that. And it just, like I said, it keeps you open-minded when it comes to fishing,
Well, there was a lot made in the news this year about John Cox fishing. He's going to fish the Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour. He's going to fish the Pro Circuit. He's going to fish the BASS Elite Series. I think he had like 23 events set up or something like that. You're going to be kind of close to that number yourself, aren't you? How many events are you going to fish this year?
Yeah, I think I fished like 48 events in the last 2 years from the Toyota Series level or higher. So, wow. And if you throw a few BFLs in there too. So this year I anticipate on fishing another 22 events or so, 22 to 24 events, just as many as I really can, honestly. As many that I can fit in the schedule. So yeah, I'll be right around that mark as well. And hey, man, hats off to him. That's awesome. And look, I'm all for that. You know, I think it's a great idea on his part if he can financially afford it, which I'm sure he can. You know, and feasibly be able to do it as far as scheduling and stuff. That's the only thing. You know, I know he's having to miss out on events here and there, but I mean, he's a great fisherman. And he's going to make it work one way or the other, and I'm sure he's got a great game plan together for that. So I think it's really cool what he's doing, and I just think it works, man. The more you're on the water, the more tournaments you're in, the more success you're going to have. You can't replace the experience you gain in a tournament. You know, you just get better when you're in tournaments like that. You can go out and fun fish and practice and try to get and work on getting better every day. And I encourage people to do that. But whenever you're in a tournament style setting, it's different. You know, we can all go out on the weekends and catch bass. I mean, it's just fishing. It's something we all love to do. And at times it's a lot of fun. It's usually we're really successful at it when there's not a lot of pressure on the line. But I think what separates anglers is the decisions they make from blast off to the time they check in. And the more times that you're in those type circumstances and you get to make decisions under that pressure, I think the better you get at it.
So you know, you fished already the first event of the Southwestern Toyota Series, the Southern Toyota Series, and the Central Toyota Series. You're going to fish all those events. You're going to fish the pro circuit, all those events. I'm sorry I don't have this at the tip of my tongue, but are you qualified for the Cup this year?
No, not already. No, so I'll have to qualify through the pro circuit. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'll have to qualify. You know, just like everyone else did that. I'm not sure if they gave out a berth for winning the Toyota Series championship or not. I don't know. I mean, I finished third. I fell apart on the last day and didn't win. So I don't even know if that guy that won. I don't know if they did that this year. I'm really not sure. So yeah, I've got to do well, you know, this year in the pro circuit to qualify for that. But yeah, I fished one in each division, I guess, one in the Central, one in the Southwestern, and one in the Southern. I don't anticipate on fishing any more of the Southwestern division tournaments. I live at Rayburn. That's where I spend my time at when I'm not on the road. And, you know, that Toyota Series, I was actually kind of late getting my boat back and getting ready to go to Florida. I had planned on going and pre-fishing at Okeechobee before the off limits. But because of me waiting for my boat, I missed that opportunity, and I was still at Rayburn, and there was a Toyota Series that week, and I was actually breaking in my new motor on my boat and kind of ran across a big old giant school of fish. And I said, you know, it'd probably be a good idea to fish this tournament. And it worked out great for me the first day. I was leading the event, but my timing was off on the second day, and some guys caught some giant mega bags, and I kind of fell to, you know, whatever I did, 39th or whatever. But either way, it wasn't a bad event. It was a good way to get the season started and roll in the right direction.
Well, you know, you've been very consistent. And the thing that strikes me is how these are such different regions of the country. Florida is so different from Texas, and Alabama is so different from you know, those other places. And yet you are consistent, even in 94th place, you know, in a field of 230,
it's killing me.
Field of 234 anglers, though, that's not bad. And you did score good points on the Bass Tour Anglers podcast Angler of the Year. Even by finishing 94th, you scored some pretty good points there.
Yeah, man, Okeechobee, you know, that's just one of them events where, man, I'm super frustrated about it. I'm not happy with 94th place by no means. But, you know, it was one of those tournaments where if I was to have to go back over and do it exactly the same, man, I just got misled along with a lot of other guys in those areas. Okeechobee is one of those places that, man, if you're not in the right area at the right time, you can totally miss the boat. I mean, we all know that. Everybody's seen it happen time and time again. And it was kind of it was just a frustrating deal because, you know, I felt like a really efficient and successful practice. I found some areas that I knew had a lot of bass in them that were spawning and some good clean water, and I got a lot of bites, and it was a lot of fun. I didn't sleep all week. I was so excited for the tournament, you know, and then the first morning the event got there, and I think it was about 10 o'clock, and there was about 25 guys in that area, and we were all looking at each other going, well, this ain't good. You know, I mean, the bass just literally, I think they just spawned and left. And there was only one or two guys in those areas, like Justin Lucas. Justin Lucas was in that area that I started in, and he made the adjustment to catch those fish on the way out as they were leaving those spawning areas, and that's why he had a successful event. For the majority of us that were sitting there wondering where in the world those fish went, we never did really track them down in those areas. And but man, that was just one of them things where, you know, like I think a lot of the guys that had a really good tournament there at Okeechobee, you know, they had a terrible practice, didn't hardly get any bites, and they were really struggling. But it seemed like the areas that were kind of cold during practice got really good during the tournament. Like those bass were coming to them, and the areas where guys were getting a lot of bites in practice got cold. You know, the fish left. So it was just one of them deals where, you know, it didn't work out, you know. And I think if you fish enough events, you're going to have a couple of those. So, you know, that's the plus about fishing so many tournaments. I was able to leave Okeechobee and go jump right back into competition at another event and just get the ball rolling back in the right direction. And so I went and had a pretty decent event there at Guntersville. And we just got that momentum going back in the right direction. Momentum's such a huge thing. We all know that in every sport and everything. So, you know, to go and have a pretty decent event there at Guntersville, it kind of gets me back in a good mental state to be ready for this next pro circuit event here at Smith Lake, which I'm at right now, pre-fishing.
You came into the pro tour through the college ranks. Is that right?
Yeah, I started off. That's where I really kind of, I guess, you know, going back, I always dreamed of fishing professionally. I started fishing tournaments when I was about 16, and had a little success fishing a little local stuff, but I realized very quickly that I did not have the financial means, the resources, or any way, shape, or form the pathway at that time in my life to go any further with it. And so I got, you know, I went off to college and everything, but I ended up at a university in Central Texas at Tarleton State University. And I ended up on their bass team fishing for the school. And that allowed me the opportunity to travel across the country and meet some people and get exposed to different fisheries and stuff like that. And one thing led to another. By the time I was ready to graduate, I had a little success at the college level. And I said, man, I think I remember seeing, you know, Jordan Lee just won a second classic in a row, and everybody was making, so, you know, the point was this guy came out of college and is now successful at the professional level. And, you know, I think a lot of people within the industry were starting to, that's whenever college fishing was really starting, I think, that, I mean, when Jordan did that, people really started looking at college fishing going, you know, this is the feeder system for the next level. This is, you know, I think it started kind of developing, you know, really seriously at that point. And it opened my eyes. I said, you know, I was like, man, if Jordan had that kind of success and the college, you know, level kind of led to where he's at, I was like, I can do the same thing, you know? So I kind of rode that momentum out of college, started fishing BFLs and Toyota Series, and, you know, here we are today. So yeah, I definitely, I have to say that I think inevitably I want to fish so bad that eventually I probably would have made it. But fishing at the college level definitely, I feel like, propelled my career. You know, I think it sped up, you know, it gave me the opportunities to get to where I'm at extremely faster than what if I'd had to do it all on my own.
Dakota, what did you major in? Did you major in something that would help you in the business side of professional fishing?
I didn't go into it thinking of that, but you know, I majored in ranch management and animal science. Okay. You know, I moved to Texas to study that. They had a really good program there at Tarleton State University. I was actually rodeoing a lot, and I mean, that seemed right to move to Texas and go study ranch management out there. That was just where I want to be. And it's funny how God works in our lives. You know, I moved to Texas to rodeo, but you know, all these doors got open for me in the fishing industry, and it's been a really cool experience. But where to go with that, back on track. No, I didn't study anything, you know, like I didn't plan out my degree based on that. But as I started getting more and more serious towards the end, as I got closer to graduating, I started, you know, paying more attention to marketing stuff and trying to just be more savvy on the economics of all that stuff and how all that works and everything. So I tell people all the time, you know, college, just going to college, having that education, being in that environment, having to send professionals emails, stuff like that. I mean, you would be surprised how many, people don't know how to send like a well-structured email. And if you send an email out, we all know this, you send an email out to a company within the industry, or even if it's not an endemic, even if it's like a non-endemic company that you're potentially reaching out to sponsor you, and you don't send a well-structured, put together email, I mean, as simple as that is, those companies aren't going to take that very seriously. And, from a guy like me, I never had much interest in all that type stuff. I wouldn't have paid attention on, how to, properly send an email and stuff like that if I wouldn't have been in college and had to do it. So it definitely benefited, I think, and that's just a very, very simple, analogy there. But I definitely think that, just going to college helped me out tremendously.
And now, how did you actually qualify for the Major League Fishing Pro Circuit?
So I actually, I'm being completely honest about this. I fished the Northern Toyota Series that year, the year before I actually started fishing, before my rookie season, and had some success up there. Did really well. I made a mental mistake on one day at the last event in that series there. I never fished on Lake Ontario, but I'll make this story short and sweet. But I I knew that it was going to take a lot of weight to win that event. And so, it's a lot of stress putting those small fish when you catch them so deep and you pull them up so fast, put them in your live well. Well, the first spot I pulled up to, I caught like 5 2.5 pounders right off the bat. And I threw every one of them back because I was like, well, I can't, they're not going to do me any good. I'm going to catch enough 3-pounders through the course of the day. I don't need those in my live well, and potentially losing one to where I couldn't cull it. Well, it got really tough for there's a big storm blew in or something. And I weighed in 4 for like, I don't know, 16 or 17 pounds by the end of the day. And not having one of those 2.5 pounders in that live well cost me like 20 places. And it cost me getting like a top 5 in the points in that division. So I ended up finishing right outside the cut there to actually qualify for the tour. And I actually, it broke my heart because I wanted to fish the tour so bad. And I was actually able to take advantage of the program that they were doing with Ranger at the time. And I got into the Ranger sponsor exemption that for my rookie year. Now, that's not the most glamorous way to go about doing it, but in my mind, I knew that I had caught them good enough to qualify that year for the pro circuit. And I was bound and determined to get there because, it's all I want to do. And that was my way in, and I took advantage of it. And I'm surely glad and thankful that I did now,
Well, now so far in 2021, you fish a lot of different kinds of waters. Do you have a preferred technique? Do you feel like there's certain lakes that set up better for your kind of fishing, or are you just a real versatile person? You must be to do well in all these different places.
I've really molded my program around being as versatile as I possibly can. I grew up fishing ponds and small rivers and streams and bayous and stuff in Louisiana, and shallow power fishing is really kind of what I grew up doing, obviously growing up down there. But I've always been infatuated with fishing offshore and using electronics and seeing guys do that. So whenever I finally got a boat that had electronics and stuff, I actually spent several years getting my butt kicked because I stayed off the bank learning how to fish offshore when I could have been on the bank catching them. But I just dedicated myself to doing that and to learning how to do it and to get good with it. And like I said, it kind of cost me for a while, but it's really paying off for me now because I feel really comfortable really in any situation that I'm, I feel like I can be put in. But I like to catch them however they're going to bite. I don't really have a preference. I really don't. I am starting to notice though that I do better. So most of my really good events, this year finishing, I think I finished like 3rd or 4th at Dale Hollow, and then I finished 3rd or 4th at the championship there at Cumberland, and then I think I finished 2nd or 3rd, something like that, at Fort Gibson. I don't know, somewhere around that. I had 3 top 5s, and they were all on pattern lakes. So I'm learning that I do better when I can just like run water. That's when I feel like I'm most successful, whenever I can establish a pattern and then just run new water. I come really close to winning a Toyota Series on Table Rock a couple years ago. I finished second to Eric Oliverson. He beat me out by a couple ounces. But on that tournament, I ran new water every single day. They were spawning, they were in the bushes, they were in the backs of little pockets, and I could just pull into a pocket and look at some bushes and say, all right, they're on those, pull up and catch some fish. And I never went back to the same stretch of bushes throughout the 3 days of the tournament. I was just running it down the lake, and I was able to kind of establish that pattern and run. I did the same thing at Dale Hollow. Whenever I was catching them there, although they were extremely deep, they were around bait, but you could just pull into a creek and they were just set up in a certain depth. And the same way was at Cumberland there at the championship. I was running points on a Carolina rig, but all those points were kind of set up the same. So anytime I can establish a pattern and run water, I feel like that's what I really seem to be best at.
Very, very cool. That's a good rundown. Hey, where are you now? You're in a camper somewhere. I can tell that. Where are you now, and what are you doing?
This is home, man. This is home. I pretty much live on the road most of the year out of this camper. It's a Capri camper. It goes in the back of my truck. I take it off, set it down wherever I'm going, and it's home for the week. I'm at Smith Lake right now here in Alabama, learning how to catch spotted bass that chase around blue herring. Okay. So we have a tour event here in 2 weeks. We go off limit. Tomorrow is our last day of practice or pre-fishing that we can, we go off limits tomorrow. So I'm going to spend one more day here, and I'm actually unfortunately, I didn't get in the opens, so I'm not going to Harris Chain. So, excuse me. I'm going to go home for a week and visit my mom and some family and stuff. And then I'll be back for another, 4 or 5 weeks in a row going to tournaments and stuff. But yeah, I'm at Smith Lake now, just trying to get, acclimated to this style of fishery. This is a little bit new to me. This place is definitely.
Hey, Dakota, just a couple minutes here. Tell us which companies are helping you out. Who are your sponsors that you're leaning on and that are supporting you this year?
Yeah, fishing that much, man. It's a big financial strain. So I definitely, I've been really blessed to have some people behind me that have helped me out a lot. And Tiger Creek Lodge there at Sam Rayburn, man, they have been great to me. They've been with me for the last few years, and I can't say enough about them. They have a great, beautiful place there at Sam Rayburn on the south end of the lake that it is a wonderful place to stay at, whether or not you're just going fishing with your family for the weekend, you're going out with some buddies. They can even accommodate like corporate trips and stuff. They have a big dining hall and all that stuff, big outdoor gazebo where you can cook and hang out and everything, and you can places to charge your boat, plenty of room, plenty of space to spray out. It's a great place. So I encourage anyone watching that wants to go to Sam Rayburn and catch some of those giant bass they've been catching this year. Look at Tiger Creek whenever y'all decide, for a place to stay, because it's a really cool atmosphere. But Tiger Creek, I actually have a new one this year. It's Turnaround Welding Services, Special Forces. So they're a new company. They're an industrial company there in the Baton Rouge area. They do specialty welding in that area. So that's a pretty cool new addition for me. I'm excited about being with them. My Endemic sponsors that have been behind me for the last few years, I have to say, I can't say enough about Hammer Rods. I'm wearing the hat right now. They're a fishing family owned, and I can't say enough about the rods, but I'm not just trying to be a salesman. I'm just telling you that dealing with them and their family atmosphere, I wouldn't trade it for the world. They're just great people, and I consider them family. So they're awesome. And Gil has been really good. The weather this year has been brutal. So to have the right clothes has really, I think, been a big attribute to my success. Like at the championship, it snowed for like 2 days straight. It was brutal. Nobody even wanted to go fishing. It was really cool because nobody was on the lake practicing. And I was out there in my Gill clothes, just comfortable as I could be. And actually, that was the day I got it all figured out. I figured out they were on those secondary points. There wasn't any boats in the way because nobody else was on the lake, and it was kind of a cool deal. And being comfortable in those type of situations goes a long way. So, got to give a big shout out to them too.
Well, Dakota, thanks for being with us tonight. I appreciate you taking a little bit of time out of your practice. I feel like, first of all, I feel like I've made a new friend because I talked to so many of these guys, and your story is compelling, and I really enjoyed hearing you tell it. Good luck, and let's see if we can't keep you on top of the standings of the Bass Tour Anglers Podcast Angler of the Year race for the rest of the year.
You bet, man. Looking forward to it. I'm gonna keep working my butt off, and good Lord willing, everything's gonna keep going well, and we'll talk to you again throughout the season.
All right, sounds good. Take care now.
Yes, sir. See you.
All right.
Bye.
All right. So in tour news coming up this week, first of all, we've got the Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour Red Crest event. This is their tournament of the year. This is their championship event. That event is taking place. It was moved from Texas to Lake Eufaula in Alabama. That will be taking place this week. We will give you the dynamics on what went down next week's tour talk. We've also got a BASS Elite Series event number 2, the second stop on the tour, taking place in Tennessee, on the Tennessee River in Knoxville, Tennessee. We'll have all that for you next week. Keep those live vests zipped and clipped, and we will talk.